That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, I thought this would be a very fun exercise where we go through and we have already posted our official 2021 Dynasty Fantasy Football rankings and tiers over there on Patreon, but we are going to be looking past those, and instead we are going to be trying to, I don't want to say guess, but we are going to be trying to predict what the rankings are going to be looking like next offseason. So this is going to be after this year. We're going to get another year of data, and we can obviously use our projections for this upcoming season to look at what kind of production we're finding for these running backs in 2021, combining that with the age that they will be in, the contract situation they will be in, and go and try to evaluate their dynasty value from there. But of course, guys, if y'all have any opinions, if you think that I am wrong with anything I say here, your opinion is just as valuable as mine, something that we talk about all the time now. So please, if you think I said something wrong, if you think that you have a set of rankings that could potentially help someone out a little bit more, go drop them down in the comment section. And 12 months from now, where we go back and revisit this video, I mean, we can laugh at how stupid I am and potentially go down to the comment section and see how dumb y'all are at the same time. But yeah, that should be it. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Just passed 6,000 subscribers, so that's obviously massive. And let's dive into it with our first running back, our #1 running back overall in our 2022 Dynasty projections for what the rankings will be. Jonathan Taylor taking it home. Okay, so here with Jonathan Taylor, I will say that a lot hinges on Carson Wentz. Okay, we have already talked about this so much for his production this upcoming season. But with Jonathan Taylor, if you actually look at our tier 1 rankings right now over there on Patreon, he is the youngest running back. He's really the only running back that is in a situation where he can see his value continue to climb. And I think that's what we are going to have with Jonathan Taylor, because we remember the prospect profile coming out of Wisconsin. This is someone that clearly profiled to be, I don't want to say the most dynamic running back in the NFL, but one of the most athletic running backs in the NFL if you size adjust. And we had seen that he is literally the definition of durable, and at the same time, he can be that workhorse. Now, the only question that we had coming into year 1 for Jonathan Taylor was, what was his usage going to look like in the receiving game? I mean, obviously, they have Nyheim Hines there. Nyheim Hines, a more than capable receiving down running back. So it was hard to see Jonathan Taylor getting a ton of targets year 1. But he did come out, he did get targets at a high clip, and really, Jonathan Taylor proves that his entire profile looks like he can be the dynasty running back 1 overall. The one problem, though, is what is the Carson Wentz play going to look like? Because if Carson Wentz comes out, if he's anything close to what he was in 2020, because Carson Wentz, I could make the argument, was the worst quarterback in the NFL last year, and I understand, guys, that his offensive line play was atrocious. I understand that his wide receiver play was atrocious at the same time, but you can't ignore what Jalen Hurts did with that team compared to Carson Wentz. So if Wentz comes out and he looks like he did in 2020, then I mean, I think you're going to have Indianapolis in a very difficult spot where, yes, they'll have an elite offensive line, but the overall productivity of the offense is going to be a little bit capped with Carson Wentz, because they're not obviously locked into him for the long term, but at the same time, they don't have that many options to move on from him, given the fact that this team is going to be good. They have the defense, they have the offensive line. So even if Carson Wentz is as bad as he was in Philadelphia last year, it's not like they're getting a top 5 pick where they can bring in Sam Howell, they can bring in Spencer Rattler. So Taylor really hinges on Carson Wentz at least providing mediocre quarterback play, which I think it's maybe safe to project Carson Wentz to be an average quarterback with the great situation there is in Indianapolis. But a lot is in the air. So maybe Jonathan Taylor is actually down there at 3 or 4 next offseason. But anyway, let's keep going down. And no, we are not going to have Christian McCaffrey with this next spot. We are going to be having Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley, our running back 2 in our rankings currently, is going to be staying at that spot, moving ahead of Christian McCaffrey, as Barkley will be going into his first year on a veteran contract, because I know he can technically play under the 5th-year option next season, but it's not happening. I mean, Saquon Barkley is not playing under a 5th-year option. He's going to get that extension. And here with Barkley, I mean, you have almost the exact opposite concerns that you do with Jonathan Taylor, where Jonathan Taylor running behind an elite offensive line, but you kind of had to question what you were going to have in the passing game, where here was Saquon Barkley. I mean, Saquon Barkley behind one of the worst offensive line units in the NFL, but at least we know that this is a player that can see 7 targets a game, so he can overcome that. And I would make the argument that a healthy Saquon Barkley is the best running back in the NFL. And honestly, I don't even really want to entertain any other arguments. I know we'll always tell the Nick Chubb haters they can claim that, but no, if you look at the explosion, you look at the athletic profile, the size, combined with the fact that he is an elite pass-catching running back, Saquon Barkley is an elite talent, and he is younger than Christian McCaffrey. He is still only 24 years old, so he'll be 25 next offseason. So Saquon Barkley going to be at number 2. Like we said, I mean, a lot hinges on the offensive line. Hopefully, Daniel Jones can take a step forward with both Kenny Golladay and Kadarius Toney coming in, but it's going to be very, very interesting. Now, our next running back is going to be Christian McCaffrey at 3. So CMC going to be falling down from the consensus 101 to a range where he's now affordable, because we know that it doesn't matter what your production looks like when you are that veteran player. I mean, if you're at the running back position, by the time you get to 26, 27 years old, your value is going to start to dip. And Christian McCaffrey about to be 26 years old. So if he goes through and he even has that elite Marshall Faulk type season, I don't think his value's going any higher, to be completely honest. I know that is something not a lot of people want to hear, but that's just the game of Dynasty. And with Christian McCaffrey, obviously, you have to ask yourself, what happens if he doesn't necessarily just completely destroy fantasy football this upcoming year? What happens if instead of being the running back 1 overall, he's more so the running back 5, and you have him another year into that second contract that he has? I understand Christian McCaffrey, one of the best pass-catching running backs in the NFL, so he should have the longevity at the position. But here, I just think that it's going to be very hard to have him over a 23-year-old Jonathan Taylor, a 25-year-old Saquon Barkley, when both running backs have so much going for them. But let me know if you think I'm being too harsh here for Christian McCaffrey to think that he is going to be falling down 2 spots next offseason. And now our next running back, we already have him as our Dynasty running back 4, and he is going to be staying there. It's going to be Cam Akers. Now, Cam Akers, I'm expecting him to have literally Christian McCaffrey level upside. He's not going to get there in the receiving down usage, although he can be a more than capable receiving down running back who sees 4 targets a game. That's completely in the range of outcomes. But with Cam Akers, I mean, I would not be surprised if he was the number 1 running back overall in Dynasty next year. And I know that's aggressive, but this is someone that looked elite in the last 6 games that he played after that breakout, after he got over the rib injury his rookie season. Malcolm Brown gone in Miami, and you have the massive upgrade for the overall offense with Matthew Stafford coming in. And with Cam Akers, I mean, he is like 18 months younger than Najee Harris right now. We've already talked about this. Cam Akers, younger than Travis Etienne, younger than Najee Harris, younger than Michael Carter, younger than Trey Sermon. This is a player that is ridiculously young. I have no idea how he came into the NFL last year. But regardless, he is someone that profiles to be a 3-down running back on one of the best offenses in the NFL. We have seen the talent already. He can take a large step forward in the receiving game. And on top of this, he has the contract situation, and he's extremely young. I mean, I would be so surprised if Cam Akers is not a top 5 Dynasty running back next year. And I think he is going to be staying at that number 4 spot where we already have him. Now, our next running back we already have at the number 5 spot, but this is going to be Najee Harris. Okay, so here with Najee Harris, it's a little hard to go through and actually project what the Dynasty community is going to do with him, because we have him as our running back 5 now in Dynasty, understanding that this is a player that is a rookie and he's being drafted in the late first of high-stakes redraft leagues this year. So the volume projects to be there to a point where Najee Harris should be a running back 1 right away in Dynasty. And what we have found in Dynasty Fantasy Football is if you have a rookie running back coming in, gets drafted in the first round, and then post a running back 1 season, their rookie season, all of a sudden that player's the number 1 overall pick in Dynasty leagues. I mean, we saw this with Ezekiel Elliott back in 2016. We saw this with Saquon Barkley back in 2018. But the one difference here with Najee Harris is he's already 23 years old. And that's why I'm saying I have a hard time going through and trying to figure out what the Dynasty community is going to do with evaluating him next year, given the fact that we have never seen a rookie running back come in at 23 years old, get drafted in the first round of the NFL draft, and then all of a sudden put up a top 10 running back season and what that does for his Dynasty value. So I am already prepared for Najee Harris to be a top 5 running back in Dynasty, as we have him as our running back 5 in Dynasty already. And I think he is going to be in a very similar range, if not the same spot, next offseason. Now, our next player is going to be a riser. At number 6, we are going to have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Okay, so CEH, it's very simple here. I mean, the best running back on the best offense in football. This is someone that is now going to have way more touches available to himself with Le'Veon Bell leaving. And if you look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he actually got very unlucky last year if you look at his usage and how he actually scored, because this is a running back that had everything you want. I mean, he was getting usage inside the red zone. He was getting usage in the receiving game. The one problem is he just ran a little unlucky in terms of converting those goal line touches to actual touchdowns. And we know a lot of that is just volatility. We know that's a small sample thing that's most likely going to change with time. So if we can project Clyde Edwards-Helaire to continue to have the goal line role in Kansas City, we can project this offense to most likely have the most trips to the red zone of any offense in the NFL. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a key member of this passing game, a passing game that just lost Sammy Watkins, and outside of Travis Kelce, outside of Tyreek Hill, has a lot of targets to go around. I mean, CEH, another player you could possibly make the argument could be a top 3 guy. And you can also throw on the fact that Clyde Edwards-Helaire came into the NFL at 21 years old. So by the time we get to next offseason, he will be only 23. And if he's coming off a season where he was a top 10 running back, and obviously he's still attached to Patrick Mahomes, I think there's an argument that you could actually have Clyde Edwards-Helaire a little bit higher than this. But yeah, CEH is going to be at number 6. So I know with this next pick, we are probably going to have a lot of people screaming Dalvin Cook, screaming Alvin Kamara. But no, we are going to continue to go with the young guys, because Dynasty has the running back position as a young man's game. And here at 7, we are going to have DeAndre Swift. Now, DeAndre Swift, unsure if he's going to post that elite production this upcoming season based on the fact that Jared Goff is going to be his quarterback. But if you look at how the Detroit Lions are building, I don't think anybody would be surprised if Detroit actually walks away with the 101 in next year's NFL draft. And if they get the 101, they take Spencer Rattler, they take Sam Howell, they take whoever the quarterback at the top of the draft next year is going to be, then all of a sudden, this team with, I don't want to call it an elite offensive line, but a far above average offensive line attached to a cornerstone asset at the quarterback position, then you have DeAndre Swift, a running back that literally is exactly what you want. He's the profile of an Alvin Kamara. He's the profile of an Aaron Jones. He is someone that's going to be getting usage in the red zone, usage in the receiving game. So if he has that role, he has that talent attached to an improving offense, I think DeAndre Swift, a safe call to be in the top 10. And now, at number 8, we are going to be having Antonio Gibson. Now, the problem with Gibson is, y'all know I'm all in on the talent. I mean, this is a player that probably was my highest drafted guy in rookie drafts last offseason if it wasn't Jalen Hurts or A.J. Dillon. But with Antonio Gibson, I love the talent. The situation, though, is something you have to question. Because very similar to what we have in Indianapolis, I mean, there are too many good football players on Washington for this team to be a bottom 5 team this upcoming season. I mean, even if Ryan Fitzpatrick is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, which I know it's crazy to say. I know Dynasty owners are going to get so mad because Ryan Fitzpatrick provides so much value in fantasy football. But guys, Ryan Fitzpatrick is one of the worst starting quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, that shouldn't be a hot take at all. Just look at the reason why he's been on so many different teams. But anyway, the path for this team to get a significant upgrade at quarterback and to get a franchise guy going forward is going to be very difficult. And for that reason, with Antonio Gibson, I think the situation is going to slightly hold him back, where it's not like what you have in Detroit with DeAndre Swift, where you can easily see that team getting a top 3 pick based on their defense, based on the lack of offensive weapons that they have to move the ball down the field. With Washington, they're going to be a little bit handicapped, I think, in that elite defense is going to make it where they're winning football games and they can't necessarily get that franchise quarterback. But you can't ignore the talent with Antonio Gibson. You can't ignore the age, the contract situation. So I think despite whatever situations in Washington, he is going to be at number 8 for us. Now, at number 9, no, we are not going to be having Alvin Kamara. We are not going to be having Dalvin Cook. Those will be players going into their age 27 seasons. And we've already seen that you can be a Derrick Henry, you can be a top 5 running back in fantasy, and all of a sudden fall off in Dynasty, given the fact that that age is going to be a major red flag. So at number 9, instead, we are going to be having Travis Etienne. So here with Travis Etienne, I think by the time we get to the end of the season, like I've said so many times before, yes, James Robinson is going to be getting touches in this offense. James Robinson is going to be getting usage between the 20s, more specifically, rushes between the 20s, but that doesn't mean a lot of fantasy points. And Travis Etienne, I believe by the time we get to the end of the season, is going to earn himself the goal line role. At the same time, he's going to have the usage in the receiving game. He's going to be attached to Trevor Lawrence, a quarterback that I think a lot of people are predicting to eventually be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And Travis Etienne will be on that rookie contract. So everything lines up for Travis Etienne to be the next Alvin Kamara, the next Aaron Jones. And when he is going to be that young, might as well take that player as a top 10 running back. Now, our last guy we are going to be having is going to be going over to the veterans. Let's talk about Alvin Kamara. And with Alvin Kamara, the reason I'm putting him here instead of a Dalvin Cook, instead of a Derrick Henry, is I think at the running back position, I mean, if you're going through an aging, the one thing that should be able to help you in a PPR format stay and have that longevity and value is going to be passing down usage and the amount of targets you can get on a per game basis. And we have seen before that Alvin Kamara is that elite player and what he can do in the receiving game. So with Kamara, yes, the age will be a concern. Well, he'll be going into his age 27 season, and that's about when you want to be washing your hands of these running backs. But I think the production will still be there this upcoming year to make Alvin Kamara an elite running back in fantasy. And on top of this, we know that contenders are always going to be chasing those guys. Now, thank you, my dudes. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. Of course, if y'all did, go down there, drop that like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. And if I said something dumb or you don't agree with these rankings, please go down there to the comment section. Let me know what should be changed, because there may be some other people down there that are agreeing with you. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all. And have a great day, my dudes. Thank you so much for everyone joining the flock in Will, Wesley, Ethan, Sabres, Jonah, Austin, Andrew, Doug, Brandon, and Adam. Thank you so much, my dudes.